don't care. You go here. There. Hello? Anybody home? Hello? Anybody there? Knock, knock. Who's there? Dwayne. Dwayne who? Dwayne the bathtub. I'm drowning. Okay. And that's how you start a podcast, with a knock, knock joke. If you got here late and you didn't hear the knock, knock joke, I could do it again. Chris beat Lisa today. Lisa's usually number one. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Chris. Hey, Becky. Hey, Davie. Kathy. Becky. Chris. Lisa. Davie. Becky. Chris. Kathy. I'm sorry. I'm just going around in circles. I just got off the phone with a friend of mine who has probably been a victim of some shenanigans in buying a car. And there's just been some, and it really bothers me. And I'm getting information that it's kind of too late. And I'm going to try to help them. But, I mean, I'll literally hang up the phone and turn on this. That's where we're at, right? So, sorry if I sound discombobulated, it's because I was trying to help somebody. I was doing the best I could under the circumstances. So, welcome. It's 6:02. It's March 4th, 2021. And we're all in a holding pattern. Everybody listening to me, you're in some kind of holding pattern wherever you are. But you get, I guess, a gold star if your holding pattern is in Texas. Because I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to see if I got this right. If things are going the way they're going, if the variant, it moves faster than the inoculation could turn up void, neutralized by the force of the variant, which would not have been stopped in time. I'm thinking I've got this right. The trick that was in progress, I call it trick, what we were doing was we were trying to get everybody vaccinated faster than the variant could move, right? But if you take off the mask in enough states, and I just looked, I've been wrong about how many states are opened up. There's more than I thought. If the variant exceeds the speed of the inoculations, those of us who've been inoculated, I'm not trying to cause anxiety here, will have to start over. It's really possible that everything we've done will be negated. You do understand that, I'm pretty sure. You know, Chris, if we're screwed in Texas, I believe that what happens is the entire country is screwed. I don't think you can screw Texas and the screwing will stop at the border. I think by definition, in the time of a pandemic, if Texas is screwed, if we're fucked, and Mississippi and South Dakota and Florida and on and on and on, if the variant takes hold, then it won't matter if you're in Illinois, it won't matter if you're in Minnesota or California, the variant will outrun the vaccine. That is, the quality and the immunity provided by the vaccination will be undermined, mitigated by the modifications, the variations, which will have already mutated and will have left behind the inoculation and the immunities that we have. This is obviously distressing. Joan says that she didn't see Trump get sworn in today. I guess there was some talk of that in QAnon. I'm not going to lie, Joan. I don't pay much attention to Trump, and I pay even less attention to Abbott. I mean, hi, Kathy. Joan, I noticed you're pretty up on news, so I know that you're probably watching news outlets. I went out for a bicycle ride today at about 10:30. I didn't get back until about 4. I haven't watched the news today. I showered and I sat down and I had a rhyme or reason to be here. So, but had you said to me, Abbott said, I would have, at that point, I would have drifted away. Unless you were going to tell me Abbott said he's sorry and he's going to bring back the mask. When you talk about Trump, again, uh, it, I mean, the whole point of having elected Biden, the whole point, not the whole point, the primary reason we elected him is so that we could kill off the bugaboo that was Trump. So uh, just be careful, Joan. They may announce that he's going to be inaugurated many more times. And I don't want you to fall down that rabbit hole. I think a bike ride would have served you better. It's just we're powerless. I mean, all we can do is to mask, social distance, wash our hands, get inoculated, and hope for the best. I mean, I can't change this governor. I wrote him. I told him what I thought. I said specifically, I'm committing a donation to whoever runs against you. It's the second time. Um, that's all I can do. I'm not a Republican. I hold no sway in a Republican state. All Democratic governors are sticking to the mandate for mask. Most Republican governors uh, have never incorporated restrictions or are unrestricting now. So if you want to know, look at a state, choose the governor. So while they're screwing Biden, this is what they really want to do. They really want to screw Biden's presidency so that Trump can be inaugurated sometime. The fact of the matter is they could potentially create a pandemic that is more forceful, more virulent than the one that we have, which is why I said we may be starting over. I don't know this. I'm listening to Fauci and several other medical pundits, and I tried in the beginning of this to explain what I thought I understood. If the mutation spreads faster than the inoculations, then there's no assurance that the inoculations will be effective enough. That's the bottom line. So whatever else you're seeing, whatever else you're reading, whatever else you're hearing or discussing amongst yourselves or with your friends, until somebody dispels me of what I just said, then I believe that we're at a point of critical mass. We're at this point where if no, good question, Kathy. Does this mean if one has not gotten the vaccine yet, should one wait for a new vaccine? No. But it's a good question. The fact of the matter is, we don't know if the newer strains, the mutations, will be, we don't know if the inoculation, the vaccination will be effective against the mutation because the mutation hasn't spread significantly enough amongst the population for us to have data. So the vaccination is already out there. There is a COVID-19 still circulating. We're talking about mutation, but segregate the mutation from COVID-19, you've still got a reason to be vaccinated against a coronavirus that is going around that the vaccine's effective against. But if the if the mutation gets a stronghold. You know, Mark, I've heard some mention of a Brazil virus. I haven't had time to get caught up on that one. But again, this is all about efficacy, and it's all about efficiency, and it's all about everybody pushing in the same direction. I personally, if somebody walked into my house tonight and said, "I'll give you market value for your house," I would have to think about moving from Texas, because I can't get any momentum in Texas. I can't ever seem to get forward momentum. It seems like every time I've gotten a break, somehow, that Texas stands ready, willing, and able to pounce on my opportunity and destroy it. Governor Abbott, I said it yesterday, let me repeat it. I think at best he's a modestly intelligent person, and I think that's giving him more credit than he deserves. I think more likely Greg Abbott, like Rick Perry, like George Bush, are modest intellects on their best days and idiots most days. I don't think that there's anything people in Texas can do or people in Florida can do, because Florida has DeSantis. We have Trump. I mean, not Trump. We have Abbott. Both of them are idiots. Both of them, whenever they give a speech, the governor of Florida or the governor of Texas, never has a grasp of the science, the medical, of the emotional. The best they can do, DeSantis and Abbott, is to pontificate in a way that tells their major donors that they've got their back and keep the money coming. That either governor will essentially sacrifice most of the population in order to retain power and donors. You don't have to believe me, do the homework, but that's the way it seems. Governor Abbott, and I'm calling him a governor, it's like calling Trump a president back then. I never did. Abbott has never done anything noteworthy for the state of Texas. Not one time. I mean, he's got support, but let's just, if you could pull back the cameras and look at the years that Abbott has been governor and look at even a basic analysis of his achievements, he's achieved nothing. Nothing. His appointments to the education board are crazy. His appointments to the Power Commission are more political than regulatory. He's done nothing for the average citizen in the state of Texas, not once. I suspect DeSantis is just as miserable. And we now know that DeSantis, although he's denying it, somebody who worked for him allocated vaccine for a very rich community that wasn't particularly in need of the vaccine. And shortly after this community got vaccinated, one of his supporters in that community donated $250,000 to DeSantis's campaign. That's a bunch of freaking money. And it comes right on the tail of these people getting vaccinated. Figure it out. Do the math, as they say. So my apprehension today is not political. Now I'm actually like thinking of movies like Virus, Zombie Apocalypse. I mean, what happens if you keep destroying the cure? I mean, what's the point of coming up with for lack of a better term, a cure? We know that these vaccines do not cure COVID, but it's the closest thing we'll see to a cure, right? If you're going to kill the cure, how do we get where do you go from there? Uh, you just produced a vaccine in record time, and there was light at the end of the tunnel. And DeSantis and Nome in South Dakota and Abbott in Texas and I don't know who else, right, have just advised you on the loudspeaker, attention, attention, the light at the end of the tunnel is another train coming. Oh, crap. So, enough of that. We don't need to be any more bummed out than we are. Let's talk about today's music. I like to talk about, because I was bicycling today. I went and got some barbecue, saw Chris on the bike ride. He was going one way, we were going the other way. But anyways, left around 10:30, made it down to Deep Ellum, and I met some friends. And Cindy was biking with me. We met Cynthia and Wayne. And we sat down and we had barbecue outside, and it was just lovely day, right? It made me almost wish that I could get comfortable in Texas. Anyways, on the way down there, I kept running The Shape of Things, the song, which is by Mac Frost and the Troopers. And I knew that while the song was released sort of independently, I don't know, but I saw the movie Wild in the Streets, and that was kind of the theme song or whatever you call it. And I thought, hey, boom, 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 this gives me an idea. So when I got home, I looked it up, and I found, exactly what I thought. And I thought, what other are in this genre of movie themes? Remember, I did the soundtrack. This is soundtrack also, but these are just movies. These were never musicals in any way, shape, or form. So the Wild Angels blues theme is the opening of the Wild Angels movie that Peter Fonda was in, and Nancy Sinatra. Cool, man. It was very cool in its time. Don't know if it holds up. I haven't looked at it lately. And then who? I sound like an owl. Who doesn't know Everybody's Talking from Midnight Cowboy, right? Right? Yeah. I mean, right now, if you just like, oh my God, yeah, everybody's talking at me. Linda says no to Kathy. Oh, okay, I get it. Hi, Linda. So, I'm not saying we need to forget the medical ruination that may rain down upon us at any moment. I mean, it's just a matter of days before the mask thing in Texas takes effect. I already posted. I'm not going to Tom Thumb. For those of you that don't live in Texas, Tom Thumb is the biggest. It's owned by Albertsons, and Albertsons is the biggest supermarket chain in Texas. Tom Thumb is one of their brands. It's like Safeway, and so their position is we are not going to require customers to have a mask. We will require our employees to have a mask, but not customers. We're going to recommend it. We're going to urge you to wear a mask, but we're not going to get involved. I suspect they're doing that because it's fraught with peril without a government edict saying you got to have a mask. There's just all these pent up Republicans who want to go out and test it. And Tom Thumb probably said, and Albertsons probably said, we don't need this. Somebody's going to get hurt. Okay. Kroger so far is saying, no, we're going to require masks. Sprouts, a local chain, I don't know if it's just local. It's not just local, but it's a local chain, is also going to mandate masks. So I will shop there. There's nothing Tom Thumb has that I've got to have. I would be dismayed if Kroger did the same thing as Tom Thumb, because then I'm running out of grocery stores to go to. Sam's Club is still going to have a mask mandate, so I'm good. Okay. So, so we've got a couple of days. I posted also, I think there's going to be some really harsh encounters. The odds are, and I'm just saying the odds, if you don't wear a mask and you think that because there's no legal mandate that you will go without a mask, I would prefer to counsel you not to. But obviously, I don't have any pull. If I had any pull, you'd wear a mask, right? So the person not wearing a mask will not be anybody I have pull with. If they get in close proximity to me, I will try to remove myself. But what if I'm in line at the store and somebody gets up behind me without a mask? I'll probably turn and ask them to create social distance, don't cough, sneeze, or breathe on me. If they do what I've seen videos of people that start yelling, you don't have to wear a mask, then, as I said on Facebook, at that point, you're in God's hands. As to, and what I mean by that is how you survive that encounter with me probably has more to do with God than me or you. Whatever exchange we have after I've asked you to distance yourself, if you're not going to do that, then and I decide for whatever reason I can't get out of line, I can't get away from you, you're a problem, then I'll deal with you. And we don't know what the outcome will be. Perhaps the gods will see fit to have me take a pummeling and have to go to a hospital and have my jaw reset or something like that. I don't know, but I know that it will be resolved as best I can to my satisfaction, right? Because I feel real strongly that everybody should have a mask. If you're going to come around me, I'm going to mandate you have a mask for my protection, for my safety. Failing that, I think we have to be prepared. What will we do? We all need to ask ourselves, what will we do if we come into an environment that's maskless? Most of us are committed to getting out. Okay? By that, I mean we identify that there are people that are masked. We're powerless over it. We're going to turn around and go somewhere else. Maybe we'll start ordering food to be delivered again instead of going to the supermarket. We'll do what we can. Kathy, you're asking good questions today. What are the legal ramifications of such encounters? So, what Governor Abbott could be a President Trump, couldn't he? Governor Abbott has said in his executive order, which I haven't read word for word, is that there's no enforcement procedure. No local government can enforce mask wearing. There is no criminal proceeding. Police officer can't come and insist. The store could ask somebody to leave. So I could say to a cashier, your sign says you need a mask. This person's not wearing a mask. Would you please ask them to leave? A trespass notice and make them leave. Of course, that may be putting them in an awkward situation. I may turn around and say, the sign at the front door said that you should have mask. And I should tell you I'm vulnerable, I'm old, and if you're not wearing a mask, then you need to get away from me. What are the legal ramifications if that encounter escalates? I guess the jury will decide what are the legal ramifications. Will it be assault? Will it be a battery? Could it be something more dramatic? That is typically The police make a determination what charges against who. Then the prosecutor decides which of those they should follow up on. And then you go to court, and a judge or a jury renders a verdict based upon the facts. If somebody coughs on me, I bet you that my defense is it was an assault. It's a battery. If somebody was coughing on me in the time of the COVID, I believe that's an assault. It's like spitting on somebody at this point. You know, if you've got AIDS and you spit on somebody, spitting on somebody is an assault and battery. If somebody has AIDS, that's like a deadly assault. I'm using AIDS as an example, not so that anybody, but we had that going on. So, you know, remember, there were people who were not telling their sexual partners that they had AIDS, and they were sleeping with them, and they were charged with felony battery for not telling them because they were putting the person's life at risk. I'm 68. If you cough on me, my argument is you were putting my life at risk. It's as if you were driving a car directly towards me and making no attempt to not hit me. And I shot out your windshield. So, good questions. Kathy's hot today, man. I hope she's running out of gas, because, man, these are challenging me to think. And you all know. I mean, most of you have been here before. I've seen Linda here live before. Most of you have seen her live before. You know, I resist thought. Okay? In fact, I don't do commercials. I do 45 minutes of straight monologue when I podcast, 6 to 6:45. Sometimes I have to stop and play music, not because I don't have anything to say necessarily, but because I dig the music. I set aside some music to play during the podcast. Now, I have been muted in some 50 countries because I keep playing music that I don't own the copyright to. While I am muted in some countries, YouTube has me attest that I make no money from this. Thus, I'm not playing the music to generate any income or as part of any income generation. Facebook doesn't ask you. They just say you're muted, and you're muted in these following countries. But here's a gem for you. You may all not appreciate this as much as I do, but go back to your early days, the Wild Angels. This is not the theme song. This was later on in the movie. There was a party, and here was some of the music from the party. Okay? Let's just take a quick listen. Not the whole thing. That was good, wasn't it? I tell you, whoever was playing the bongos in that particular jam was good. I mean, I know bongos. These are congas, remember? Congas, big. Bongos, small. Bongos, although they're small, much smaller head, you use more finger than hand. And to be honest, I never was good at bongos, right? I'm pretty good at congas, not the bongos. So hat tip or whatever you all say to the virtuoso bongo performance. And the name of that song is Bongo Party. All right, back to the podcast, the regularly scheduled program. Um, so I am moving forward. I am taking time out each day to try to evaluate where do I want to be now. Texas is troublesome. It really is. I can't go back to Chicago. Too much crime, too bad weather, too much traffic. Dallas does not really have any of that, the type of consistency that Chicago does. I moved back here from Tucson. Tucson's lovely. I think I may go back to Tucson, but here's the challenge. Tucson is in one of the reddest states in the country. And today it looks good compared to Texas, but they could swap places at any Texas and Arizona could swap places for who's the crazier redneck state, right? Now this isn't just about where I'm going to live. This is about spiritual wellness. That's where I'm going. How do we secure spiritual wellness when we're living in such turbulence? Because we are. I said at the beginning of the show, everybody here is kind of in this space, this place where you're trying to figure out what is going on. What do you do? Everybody here is trying to figure out, do I need an inoculation? Where do I get my inoculation? I got my vaccination. When do I get my second vaccination? I got both vaccinations. Can I visit my grandkids? Can I visit my parents? Can I visit this? Can I do that? Can I go? What happens if I come in contact? Can I fly in an airplane? Can I drive in a car with other people? That's one segment of the concerns that you are having almost every day now. Okay. You're either looking for a vaccination or you got a vaccination and you're trying to figure out what does it all mean. Meantime, that's just one issue. Spiritually, I'm challenged every day to be a better person, pandemic or no pandemic. So I give you an example. I'm walking along. I've given you this example before, but it keeps happening. I have a violent thought. It's an irrelevant violent thought. Somebody parks their bike horizontal, perpendicular. So I'm going this way and somebody parks their bicycle on the trail. They're not thinking or they don't care. And they parked and I gotta be careful. They should have moved off the trail. They're sitting there playing with whatever it is. And in my head, I'm like, I should yell at them. But I don't yell at them. I go around them. But I yell at them in my head. In my head, I start a fight with them. I say something and they say something back and it escalates. All this is going on in my little head. I don't know if you people do this. You may do this with your spouses. Maybe you do this with the cashier. Most of you have done it on the phone with somebody from India or some country when you were trying to get customer service. And at some point you were like, you were screaming at the automated system or the automated system had gotten you through. And now you were talking to somebody in another country. And I'm not haranguing other people in India. I'm just saying it was so frustrating. You started screaming or in your mind you were screaming. So for me, spiritually, what I'm going through this transformation, this transition where I started having a fight with somebody that I'm not actually fighting with. It's not an actual fight. It's all mental. But in the old days, I used to just drive that fantasy as far as I wanted to go with it. And today, I'm shutting it down. I'm recognizing at a spiritual level, I can do better. And that when I entertain these aberrant thoughts, as the Buddha taught, shut it down. That doesn't mean that when I'm feeling bad, I don't feel bad. Doesn't mean that when I'm feeling angry, I don't feel angry. All I'm trying to share with you is that when I have certain thoughts that I used to let run amok in my head, I'm actually finding that with time and practice, repeated effort, I'm actually reaching a point now where I hear the voice, I hear the fight percolating, and I step in, I separate the combatants, me, myself, and I replace it with anything other than that. That's the tip. It's not really, that's the iceberg, but there's more to it. When I'm practicing these spiritual efforts and spiritual principles, I'm finding that I can apply them to so many moments in the day. I went to the barbecue place. There's one guy, when he's cutting the meat, if there's an end, they throw the ends out. They're very fatty. And I'm like, oh, I just throw it on your plate before you leave. It'll be like, they don't weigh it. They weigh your food at this barbecue place. But, if I'm standing there, well, today, guy's cutting, and I say, hey, man, can I have the end? I was sitting by him. He just looked at me like I was a jerk. Obviously wasn't the same guy, or maybe I caught him on the wrong day. It's not like I commit these kids cutting meat to memory. I want to assert myself. I want to inject myself a little bit stronger and go, really, I'm serious. Could I please, what I'm doing is I am constantly monitoring and modifying behavior so that when my mouth opens up and words come out, I have already paused, and what comes out of my mouth is truly beneficial, not accidentally beneficial. It's beneficial, or it's agreeable, because I actually made an effort for it to sound that way, including tone of voice, words that I use, etc. In the old days, I just didn't care. And I just didn't care for so long that my vocabulary, the speed of my vocabulary, the emotion in my vocabulary could easily be ugly with the slightest provocation, right? So here, I'm having a discussion with somebody I know, and I don't actually do this, but it's an example. Next thing you know, I want to put sugar in their gas tank, right? I'll show that son of a bitch. There is nothing to show. Kathy says, I have those kinds of thoughts after a conversation. I should have said this or that instead. And sometimes there is violence in my head. Okay, so Kathy gets it. And most of you will do this less. And what you'll do less is you'll have violent thoughts less, because you didn't practice violent thoughts. I practiced violence in my head for many years. When I was teaching firearms, I practiced gunfights in my head, knife fights, fist fights, martial arts fights, because I've been involved in combat for a good part of my teen and young adult years. And it became a pattern. It became a habit, so that I very consistently and constantly entertained it. Even when it didn't need to be, even when it might even be inappropriate, didn't stop me, because it was habit. Did you get the meat? I got the sandwich I ordered. Mark. He did give me the brisket sandwich I ordered, but oh boy, wouldn't give me any ends. And last time I went there, Mark, whoever was cutting it that day, he gave me 3 ends off of, that was laying there, because they just don't serve the ends because they're too fatty, and people would get bent out of shape if you were charging them $24 a pound or something for fat, right? I mean, a sandwich at this place is big. It's $12, but I like it. You should see the size of the smokers in this place. I mean, there's a dozen smokers, and they're man, I dig it, baby. I'm just saying. I love smoked meat. I probably would eat buffalo chips if you smoked them first. So I got what I ordered. I didn't get what I requested. Does that make sense? So I hope you all have a good evening. I hope that when we, have this gathering, that, we can stimulate each other. Kathy's questions, force me to think, right? My sharing with you is an effort in some measure of my desire to give you permission to go down that street in your mind. That if I tell you the dilemmas that I face and how I'm doing them, that I can stimulate you to think. So that when Kathy finds sometimes the violence in her head, she may remember me talking about, here's how I did it. So not that she won't have violence in her head, because that's not something we typically control. But what do you do when you recognize and realize, oh, look where I went, right? So a barbecue truck came to your apartment complex the other day. Great treat. By the way, Kathy, there was a guy that used to cook. He would pull up a truck, his pickup truck, and he had a smoker attached to it. And he'd sit there and smoke in the parking lot of the Kroger, not far from my house. And he was good. Called himself Dynamite Barbecue. But the guy was not, I'd say, well, when can I come? He'd say, oh, I'm here every Friday and Saturday, boss. And so I'd go back the next week for some smoked meat, and he wouldn't be there. Then one time he gave me his phone number. He said, oh, call me. I once drove about 20 miles to, I don't know where it was, because he said, no, I'll be there. And I got there and they said, oh, we haven't seen him for 3 weeks. Barbecue trucks can be delicious. So can be a great treat. In my case, the barbecue truck wasn't coming to me. So in essence, I went to the barbecue truck. Next time, Taco Tuesday truck. You guys are great, man. Listen to the 3 links at the end of this podcast and enjoy them. I don't see any really young people here. So those 3 links, Wild in the Streets, you may not have seen. It was kind of a niche film about kids revolting against adults. I remember it. It was corny, but at the time it was like power to the people, It was cool then. It hasn't held up that well under time. Wild Angels, every time I've seen it, I've been delighted with it. But again, it's aging. Midnight Cowboy, I don't like John Voight. He's a right-wing jerk, but Dustin Hoffman, and one of his greatest roles ever, Rico Rizzo, Ratso. Incredible freaking performance. So take a stroll down memory lane. Check it out. Bring your hands together before your heart, though. Let's generate some good merit. Okay? Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Bring your hand before your heart and bow your head. And think to yourself, may I be happy, healthy, and free from harm. May I be free from anger, anxiety, and fear. And may this practice lead me to greater peace and comfort. And if you think this is too corny for you to try it and then tell me how corny it was. Next, think to yourself, may my mother and father, even if they've passed away, be happy, healthy, and free from harm. May all my family and all my friends be happy, healthy, free from harm, and on a path to greater peace and comfort in their lives. May those persons I find disturbing, I harbor some ill will towards them, but in this moment, I send them goodwill that they may be happy, healthy, free from harm, enjoying lives of comfort and peace. And then let us all together think to ourselves that we are radiating without bound metta, goodwill, loving kindness, so that we may reach all living beings wherever they may be, humans and non-humans, so they may be happy, healthy, free from harm. May all living beings live out their lives in safety, comfort, and peace. Satu, 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 or Amen, or whatever you want to do. Fred Neil did everybody's talking. No, Nilsson. Didn't Nilsson do everybody's talking, Linda? Fred Neil. Now you got me wondering who he is. Thank you, Mark and Ann. I assume Ann's with you. Thank you, Linda, Kathy, Joan, Rachel, I don't know, Chris and Becky, and I don't know who else showed up, so I can't. Lisa, maybe she stuck around to the end. And Neil wrote it. So who's Nilsson? Now Linda's throwing me a curveball at the end of this whole freaking thing, right? Harry Nilsson. How could it be somebody else? Why would they have given
this spring? Check out a
Oh,
new Hyundai
shush.
SUV. Only at the Hyundai Spring Upgrade event.
Get 0% APR for 60 months.
The writer was Fred Neil. Boom shakalaka. Thank you. So now I know what Linda was saying. Budo, hey John. Neil did write it. You're absolutely right. And Nilsson was the singer. Now you've kept me overtime because you alarmed me. I'm like, who's Nilsson? Who's Neil? Is that a nickname? Anyways, I'm done. I'm so glad you were able to join, all of you. I'm so glad that you helped me to feel a sense of community and a sense of connection. I needed it. And, you know, what Debbie said, enjoy the rest of the night. See you tomorrow. Thanks for being there during a bad week. Yeah. Peace